today I'm excited to have back on the podcast Teresa Klasener, who is a career coach. I'm going to get her to introduce herself in a second. Teresa's actually been on the podcast, I reckon, about 5 times, possibly.
Five.
You're a resident guest. She's my
Yeah,
mindset expert on the
I
style.
like that. That's what I am. I'm your resident mindset expert
Yes,
guest.
it's all about mindset today's episode, and I will explain why that's important and why on earth has that got anything to do with your wardrobe and your style. But first of all, welcome, Teresa.
It's so nice to see you, Lisa. It's always fun to be opposite you. I'm just like, I'm ignoring that bit of me on the screen. I'm looking at you, and I feel like we're in a
I'm
con.
looking at you. So could you just give a quick introduction for those listening about who you are and what it is you do?
Yeah, so my name's Teresa Klasener. I run a business called Human, and I would describe myself as a mindset coach predominantly because mindset actually influences and affects everything. I can't emphasize that enough. I go into organizations and I coach in organizations with teams and on one-to-one and groups. But I also show up in lots of online groups, particularly women doing fitness and health. Um, and I have my own private clients as well. So I jump in and out of a few spaces where people need coaching. I also do training as well with what we call in the third sector, which is interesting. So yeah, I feel now I've been coaching probably for about 6 years, and I've got all the experience leading up
Yeah.
to that. I'm 61 now, so I feel I have a little bag of wisdom that I can share
Yeah.
with anyone. Yeah.
That you can draw on. Exactly. Well, I'm delighted to have you back on because I always love our chats. It is fascinating stuff. I wanted to kick off first with something we've talked about on the podcast a couple of times and recently with a guest I had on, Shakayla Forbes Bell, the author of the book Big Dress Energy. We'll go back to that in a bit.
Mm.
I just want to explain really why it's important we're talking about mindset in relation to clothes and image. And it's the white coat test. Remember the test that was done?
Yeah, we've talked about that. It was that enclosed cognition.
Enclosed cognition. So this is sort of different to
Yeah.
mindset, but it's about perspective.
Well, you say it's different to mindset, but actually it's exactly that. It's the assumptions that we make when people are, okay, we're talking about clothes, but it can apply to any kind of scenario or setup. But yes, we make assumptions when we see people dressed a certain way, and those assumptions are shortcuts our brain makes, and they live in our unconscious mind, really. We're sort of like pigeonholing, jumping to conclusions. And yeah, they're quick shortcuts for us to kind of feel comfortable. And, because our brain couldn't process all the crazy thoughts that go on in our minds every day. So, our brain is built to make shortcuts. Um, yeah,
It's part of how we
biases, I
communicate.
guess.
Yeah, biases, but how we communicate
Yeah,
and how we, instantly assess someone so that, people say you've got literally 0.7 of a second or something to make a first impression, which is
yeah,
an example of it. But the white coat test, just quickly before we go into mindset, was when they dressed. They had a group of people participating in this test. Half of them they dressed in artist's smock, and the other half they dressed in what they said was a doctor's coat. And
yeah.
then they gave them a range of tests to do with intelligence. And the people
Yes,
with the doctor's coats, they perform better.
yes,
And it's because in their minds they sort of
absolutely.
leveled up to
Yeah,
being a doctor, or what they perceive to be this higher level of intelligence or this higher level of capability, which is fascinating. And that can happen just from what you wear. So in a work setting, that's where it really comes into its own. You can look the part, be the part, make others believe you're really professional
mm,
and senior and all those things just by your clothes. And you can do the opposite, be amazing at your job, but keep yourself out of the boardroom by dressing badly. There is the
Yeah,
other side of the coin.
there's a yin and yang to everything. Yeah, it's always on a sliding scale. So where are you on that scale? But yeah, I mean, clothes in that sense massively feed into our identity. Actually, we kind of might think, what we wear is a bit trivial, a bit of a like a little add-on to our character and our personality. But actually, our clothes are us without words. You know, we're
100%.
yeah, it really locks into who we believe we are and what we want to convey about ourselves. So yes, if you're going for a role and you want to feel kind of that you want to go for that boardroom job, for example, yeah, what you choose to wear is going to be really important because people are going to be making judgments on you about what they feel your clothes represent. But similarly, as you just explained with that experiment, it's going to impact how you feel about yourself and your performance. So I think bringing out into the open the fact that clothes really have impact um, is an important conversation, particularly in the workplace. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. We're going to go back to that in a bit more depth, but I just wanted to just ask you the simple question. I know we've touched on, perception and all of that, but what is mindset? Would you explain it? What's a positive mindset? What's a negative mindset? How does it
Well,
impact us?
I like that you asked that question. What is mindset? It's absolutely everything. Our mindset is the patterns that we operate within, the way we think, the judgments we make, um, our sort of viewpoint of the world. And all of those sort of patterns are set on an eat, sleep, repeat, kind of like a bit of software that's buried deep in our minds, in our unconscious minds, actually. But it dictates everything about how we look at the world. So mindset is, and particularly in the role of coaching, is being able to observe what those patterns might be. Of course, a lot of those patterns are going to be helpful to us. Um, they were formed probably when we were very young and they helped us to navigate our way through the world and make some very, very big decisions. But like you said, the yin and the yang and everything's on a scale. Some of those patterns are going to be unhelpful sometimes. But unless we're aware of what those patterns are, unless we know what we're telling ourselves, um, we're not able to make a change. And that's what coaching kind of does. It observes the mind, the patterns of the mind, and able to shine a light on what those patterns might be to bring awareness to the coachee so that they can then make a choice. Do I want to do something about this? Will this little 1% change make a big difference? That kind of thing. So, yeah, the way we think and the way we behave gives us our experience of our lives. So that's why I say mindset is absolutely everything. And of course, the ages we are, um, Lisa. Like I said, I'm 61. I know you're considerably younger, but it's beholden on us. Actually, there's so much new science emerging from the field of neuroscience that as we age, we need to keep our minds just as kind of updated as we might have felt that they were when we were young. I think we used to think, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and that is now been proven that actually our minds have just as much what you call neuroplasticity, so able to grow and change even as we get older. So yeah, being able to keep that mind alive and active and thinking differently, trying new things, is really important as we get older.
And evolving as you get older. I talk a lot on the podcast about
Yeah,
evolving your style to match who you are today
yeah,
and not being stuck in the past. So you're talking about mindset. So I think it's probably true. Would you agree that some people have a cup half empty mindset and others have a
Yeah.
What is it? I've completely forgotten the
Half
thing.
empty and half full.
Half empty, half full.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I don't want to tarnish people with the one brush because I think we all have that um, relating to certain things. So, you know what I mean? It's the same like confidence. We might be confident about, how we speak to our children or something, but not confident maybe when you're going into the boardroom. So, yeah, it's not like we're ubiquitous in all of those things. But yeah, the cup half full, cup half empty might be, related to a particular, corridor or area of our lives. Yeah, and I think perhaps we all know those people who, you know, show up like that more often than not.
I think I'm probably a cup half empty person, unfortunately.
I
I
wouldn't
think I
say
am.
that,
I try
Louise.
to be optimistic. So, well, just it's sort of a self preservation thing, isn't it? You think I'm just going to be cautious, in case things go wrong. So it can be
Yeah.
that. But fixed mindset and growth mindset, what's the difference between those?
Okay, so a fixed mindset, well, it kind of like in some ways speaks for itself, but it's where you kind of want to stay in your comfort zone, basically. So within that small safe circle where you feel kind of calm, because going out beyond that feels scary. But of course, stepping out beyond that comfort zone is going into the growth mindset, but you kind of have to appreciate that going into a growth mindset, there's going to be some resistance, some kind of a struggle, a little bit of fear, but actually that's where all growth sits. So a fixed mindset means that you're staying comfortable, things are staying the same, you're on that eat, sleep, repeat pattern, and it's a nice space to be. That's sitting on the couch watching Netflix. It's nice. We all love that and need to be there, but actually nothing grows there. And humans, and you mentioned it earlier about evolving. That's innate in us. We want to, we crave, we look to evolve. But in order to evolve, we have to step out of the fixed mindset into a growth mindset. But then in doing that, you have to accept, you have to look at challenges in life as opportunities. You have to be prepared to kind of go through a little bit of discomfort. And then when you welcome that and notice the challenge as something that's going to enable you to grow and think differently, then bingo, you're on a path to sort of growth, personal development, and recognizing that challenge and resistance is part of that
And
picture.
realize what you're capable of,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
which is
It's all out beyond your comfort zone, really,
yeah, which is
which is which you might describe as the fixed mindset.
as the
Yeah,
fixed mindset. I mean,
yeah.
this is kind of so something that Shakayla Forbes Bell talks about in her book, Big Red
Okay.
Energy. It's about having this mindset, this different mindset about being the best you can be and just being authentically yourself and not worrying too much about what others think of you, because things that hold back your mindset are outside influences, aren't they? And thinking you should dress in a certain way, or you
Well, yeah.
should behave
Well,
in a certain way.
yeah. I love that you mentioned that actually, and you've introduced the topic of language, which is really important. When we coach, often I'm listening to the language, the words people use, because that is actually a window into those patterns I was talking about. It's one avenue to get into, how somebody thinks and feels about themselves or their situation or whatever's going on. And those words should, must, try, they're very indicative of where we feel things are hard and where we're struggling. And the shoulds and the musts, I just uh, they really they're like grit on my teeth, really. Fingers
Because
down the
you're not going with
blackboard.
your gut, are you? You're not going with your gut. Should is not, it's not I
Yeah,
want to do this, I should do this.
exactly. Should is like you're doing it because you think you have to please other people. It's not. what would be better to say? Not I should do this, but I'm going to, I will, and own it. And I think when you can start using that language more comfortably, that's when you're going to really get in touch with your authentic self, which is kind of like the holy grail, isn't it, for everyone? To who am I? Who am I? That question. Yeah,
Who am I? The identity question. This is the most important part, really, is because everything in life is better when you are authentically yourself, when you're able to let go of the shoulds and
yeah,
I should behave a certain way, or things people have said to you in the past. Your mum might have said to you, you really can't carry off trousers like that, or
absolutely,
you
yeah.
can't, that kind of thing stays
It
like in
stays.
your head.
Yeah, and because so if your mum did say something like that to you as a young child, the dynamic, you're invested in pleasing your caregiver because they keep you alive, literally. So you think, oh, so in order to please my mum, for example, I best not wear those trousers. That doesn't make her happy. And if it's important to you to make your mother happy as a young child, which mostly it is, that's a decision you're going to make, but without really the wisdom attached to it. And then that becomes a shortcut in our unconscious, as I was talking about. And we base all our decisions based on a decision that we made when we were very young and for very different reasons.
Yeah.
So that's the patterns, the operating system I'm talking about. But we need awareness to be able to uncover that. And those words should or shouldn't wear those trousers. That's interesting. That's a good opportunity to ask a really good question around that should word.
The should is yeah, it's so obviously because it's the Stars Series podcast, I always take it back to clothes, but
Of course,
you
you
know
must.
I must. So mindset, when you're, you know, looking in your wardrobe and thinking, the best thing to do is try to be authentically yourself in what you wear. Choose things that you love, things that light you up, and all of those things, and just try not to think you should dress a certain way. The big one is that you shouldn't wear certain things over the age of 40.
Yeah, yeah,
I shouldn't wear a bikini. I'm over 40. I can't wear a short skirt now because I'm over 40. I can't, all of that. That is still fed to us loads in the media as well, and
yeah,
that creates fear in people, and then
yeah.
they can't really dress in the way they want
Yeah,
to,
it's
and it
so
holds them
sad.
back.
It's so sad, isn't it, Lisa? I mean, when we did our courses, back in the pre-COVID, those face-to-face courses, it's astounding how many people believe that they couldn't dress in a way that they wanted to. That kind of made me feel really sad because it's beholden on us to be who we are um, all of the time, if we can. Because when we are like that, we're in what we call our flow, you know. And our flow, even the word has lots of pizzazz and energy and positivity around it. And then that's how we show up in the world. So, yes, wearing what we feel is an authentic reflection of ourselves is going to have a really big influence and impact on how you're perceived and also how you feel in yourself, which is where we began, isn't it, with this
And how you feel
podcast?
in yourself. Yeah, totally. And a client actually said to me yesterday, so I'd shopped with her first 4 years ago. So pre-pandemic 2019, we went shopping. She's now got this massive job, head of private banking at one of the big banks.
Yeah,
I won't say which, but she wants my help again. And she said, I'm still wearing the stuff we found 4 years ago. But the amazing thing is it makes me feel in my power. So that's the same as in my flow. So she had to say she was in a safe rut because her mindset was saying, these are the things I should wear in a corporate office.
yes,
It needs to be conservative. It must be a grey, navy, black suit and a white shirt and some
right,
loafers, and that's it. And and she was wearing that kind of stuff, but deep down, that wasn't her authentic self. She's a lot more, even though she's in banking, she's a lot more creative. She wants to
yes,
express herself through what she wears. She didn't have the confidence to do that because her mindset was set in this way where she was dressing in a conservative, I'm a banker way.
Interesting. And I mean, COVID has changed all of that, hasn't it? But
Yeah.
also the world is moving on. I mean, it sounds, if you are stuck in that mindset where you have to show up in a navy suit and a white blouse, um, that's really going to hold the perceptions of you back, because the world has moved on, and now creativity, and that might be indicated by color or style or shape, actually. um, it's kind of like what people are now looking for, aren't they, in the workplace? They're looking for, yes, the sort of discipline and the structure, and can you do the tasks, but also it feels like there's much more of an entrepreneurial feel, even in the corporate world. You kind of your own brand.
Yes.
Yes. So in a way, your clothing, you can demonstrate your own brand, your own creative spark through what you wear. Again, with, like I say, clothing is you, but without words.
Yeah.
So, can you see if your mindset is holding you back in old patterns of thinking? Actually, the world is always evolving and moving on, and it's beholden on us to update our thinking so we kind of stay ahead, especially as we get to this kind of stage in our lives. I love that story of your client.
Well, I was so flattered when she said I felt in my power. I just loved it. I'm going to use it all over my marketing. I know.
Splash it everywhere.
I'm splashing that everywhere, I tell you.
What was that word you used in one of your newsletters? I loved it.
Oh, it
Majesty.
was quiet majesty.
Quiet magic.
You're,
How amazing is that?
I love that. I read that somewhere. Your clothes can give you a quiet majesty.
Love it.
And
Yeah.
when you step into your power,
Yeah.
we are all the main character in our own show.
Absolutely. We're the
Main character.
CEO of our own business. Almost like, I think now, in the world that I mix in, I hear this idea that actually we don't need to go into a corporate job with the mindset of you are an employee. You're the CEO of yourself. You're your own brand. So you're the entrepreneur of your own, authenticity. Do you know does this make
Yes,
sense what
yes,
I'm
yes.
saying? So you don't show up in a corporate role as an employee, meaning as a sheep. You're actually, yourself, bringing your skills and talents into that role, and you're in charge of, how you kind of how you navigate that, and how you put out your own brand into that business.
I mean, it's how as well. My own personal evolution. I had in my 20s, I had no confidence. I was just, I just was scared of everything and
Yeah.
everyone, and just, didn't really. I hadn't gone to university, and I think I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder about that,
Mm.
and that sort of held me back, and I felt like
Yeah.
I wasn't good enough,
Yes.
and over the years, obviously age is a good thing because you have
Yes.
experiences and then you become more confident and
Yeah.
more authentically yourself as well. But a friend, she said to me, how have you gone from being, this unconfident person really to this confident person that you are today? And you're totally, and it really is just me thinking to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to be who I really am,
Yeah.
confident. And it was a mindset shift
Yeah.
that got me here. It
And
was
you only
totally.
need one or two of those shifts. A little shift can make a massive difference. And I think, as you explained your story, I would say that that was my story too. And like, yes, of course, age, you need the passage of time, don't you, to be able to kind of get wise and even understand yourself and test yourself in certain scenarios and situations and with different groups of people. And that does build up confidence over time. And I forgot what I was going to say now. You said about your story. Yeah, I would use the one single thought which says, do you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. Mine was, so I left school at 16 and I did go to uni, but as a very mature student, so much, much later on. So I did kind of lots of secretarial jobs. And then I just had enough after 9 years. And I made a promise to myself. I said, I am never going to sit outside a man's office again. Bear in mind, this was the 80s. So, people don't generally do that now anyway. and I never have. That was huge for me. That was the point when I did go to uni and did a really fab creative course, degree course, and yeah, and then I've been my own entrepreneur ever since. But it's just one decision, you know.
It's one decision, and I just was like, right. I sort of pulled up my socks and off I went, and thought, right, this is it. I'm the new. This is the new version of Lisa,
Yes, yes,
and my confidence has grown as I've been
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And also I've curated my own style over the years as well, because my clients are getting more and more senior people, so I buy more expensive clothes now. I want to look the part as well,
yes,
and I've definitely used my clothes when I worked years ago at Coots Bank, and everyone was posh, double-barreled names, chip on my shoulder, didn't go to university, Essex accent,
yes,
they're all like posh with signet rings, family signet rings. I felt like a fish out of water. I felt really exposed,
yeah,
I think, and quite scared.
yes,
I was good at my job. I was working in the philanthropy team. It was a great job dealing with high net worth individuals. What I did was I just invested in my wardrobe, and I bought some clothes that made me look and feel confident, and I kind of faked it till I made it, and it just gave me that confidence. Before I actually had that confidence, I created an image,
yeah.
and people spoke to me differently, and it just made me look better, but it made me feel better too, and then that then builds from there.
Yeah, I love that you introduced that. Fake it till you make it. It's kind of like people are less comfortable with that sort of phrase now, but there is something about using visualization and imagination and sort of acting as if it's happened already, and then actually your brain kind of doesn't understand the difference between reality and truth. In a way, you can imagine yourself, for example, wearing these lovely clothes. I mean, I think I did that. I was thinking before I came on this podcast, when I was little, my mum had a honeymoon suit, which was a classic 1940s black pencil skirt, lovely sort of almost like peplum jacket, and I fantasized about that suit for years. I even wore the jacket loads in my 20s because mum still had it in her wardrobe. But do you know what I mean? I visualized myself wearing that when I was young. I couldn't wait. I could not wait to be able to afford my own clothes, to buy my own clothes, so I could have that look.
See,
And and I
I'm
did that, yeah. And actually, I've still got look. I mean, I still that's a sort of pencily kind of thing. I still,
I love that. Teresa, for anyone listening, if you can watch on YouTube, she's wearing a lovely coral crocheted knitted set. It's very nice.
yeah. It's funny. It's not dissimilar from because I was thinking, well, why am I wearing this today? And I all of a sudden that memory of the black uh, honeymoon suit came to me. So
Huge influence.
yeah, so the power of the mind to imagine what can be is powerful, and so therefore use it as a hack. Imagine what can be. Imagine yourself in, you know, a costume that you might dare not think that you'd ever wear. But if you make that intense enough, like a dream, like mine was,
Yes, make yourself the part until you believe it yourself.
yeah,
So
you'll go in the direction of that.
yes, and if you
Yeah.
want to be, if you want to get to a certain position in your work, you can. There's imposter syndrome as well, which is probably a whole nother conversation, but it's all
Yes.
related to mindset. But dressing the part really can start to help you to believe yourself that you are that person.
Yeah, I think it's massive, Lisa. I think what you do in terms of helping people find their identity, their authenticity, as you say, their power is actually huge. And, I would say to everyone who thinks clothes are trivial, maybe think again because, they can help you on a path to finding your authenticity.
It,
This,
yeah, it's so important to do. Yeah, exactly. To really nail down your identity, to be your authentic self. Use clothes as a tool. That's what they're here for. They're here
yeah,
to give us
exactly.
joy. When we dress nicely, we feel good. It's so true. Look good, feel good. but
Yeah.
also dress for success. These cliche sayings still
Yeah.
hold weight. They really, really do. And, I just wanted to end with, don't beige yourself down. Don't stay in a rut, stay in a safe zone. Try to work out what really speaks to you, what makes your heart sing.
Yeah.
Start to wear those things. Own it, own your look, because clothes, they can put you in your flow, they can put you in your power.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. As we've spoken about all through this podcast. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Don't base yourself down. Go for it. Thank you so much. Main character energy. See, that's what I love. We're the main characters in our own little movie. Teresa.
Yes. We're our own. Is it silent majesties?
Quiet
Quiet.
majesty. Yes. Yeah. Thank you
Oh,
for coming into my movie today. So
oh, listen, I love this. I just love speaking to you, and what an honour to be on your world famous podcast.
it has charted around the world. I'm so excited. So anyone listening, please remember to leave me a review, because it really helps me get up
Oh,
the
yes,
charts.
yes.
And yes, exactly. I love doing it. So thanks, Teresa, for joining me today. That was
Yeah, loved it. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks. Bye.